Hey, all right, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at one chorus of solo by a guitar player named Jack Ruch. And it's the chorus that you just heard to start off this video. So we'll be revisiting it plenty, don't worry. First, I want to tell you a little bit about Jack Ruch. Jack is an awesome guitar player who's based in Nashville, Tennessee. He's playing around town all the time there, so if you're in town, go check him out. But he's all over the internet too. He's got his own YouTube channel. He builds on that YouTube channel with Patreon content. He's got True Fire courses out there. You really need to go check him out and study him if you're interested in sophisticating your blues, so to speak. All that stuff will be linked in the description down below. The chorus that we're going to study today is the way that he kicked off a recent show that he posted on his YouTube channel. And I heard it, and he does a few things in there that I know are going to be of interest to people who are trying to add a little jazz to their blues, add a little outside sound to their blues. And it's all in just, a really quick 30 seconds or so of playing. So I thought it would be a good thing to break down and talk a little bit about what's going on in there. So why don't we go ahead and listen to the video itself so you can hear Jack play it. The video breaks up a little bit. It's recorded on an iPhone, but you'll get the picture. Great playing. So I'll play it again a little bit more slowly, and then we'll go through and break down what's going on. All right, let's get right into it. So he starts off with a pickup, which is just some typical blues licks. So we're in the key of B flat, by the way. So starting off minor, and then he slides into the major third and caps it by dropping down to this major sixth. So we have a couple major sounds to end it off. And then he stays in the B flat minor pentatonic. All of that's just minor pentatonic in box one. And then he does this chromatic walk down move to get to the four. Okay, so we're here on the 8th fret of the D string. He just walks it down 8, 7, 6, back up to 8. And then he slides into the G note at the 5th fret of the D string, which is the third of the E flat 7, which is the 4 chord that's coming around. So he plays. And then he's going to hit the 8th fret with his pinky on the G string. So that's the E flat, the root. So he's going from the 3rd to the root. and then he grabs the root an octave lower. All right, so far we have all right, and so here's where we get that first real bit of ear turn. It's in the sixth measure of the progression, so the second bar of our four chord. We've got an E flat going on underneath, and he plays this. So all that is outlining the diminished arpeggio on the sharp 4. The way you can think of that is the 4 chords you're playing, and then just bring the root up a half step. And it's worth noting that this move, playing that sharp 4 diminished chord at that spot in the progression, is very common in a jazz blues. And I'm going to come back to that idea as we move further through this progression. And then he resolves the diminished sound into the third of the root, because we go back to a B flat 7 right here in the progression. So this is the third of a B flat 7, 7th fret on the G string, and then he's just, so that whole thing is, except he doesn't actually play that last note right here. He moves his hand here. He wants to grab this G on the 3rd fret of the high E. And this is where it gets really interesting. So what he plays next is this. So that's clearly not pentatonic. It's also clearly not outlining the B7 that's happening underneath. So what is he doing? Well, let's take a look at some of these notes to get an idea. So we have a G, we have an E flat, we have a D, we have a C, and we have a B. And that's really all we need in order for some red lights to be flashing that are saying this is C harmonic minor. We know it's harmonic minor because the harmonic minor has a flat thirds, and he's playing the C harmonic minor. So he has the E flat right here, that's the flat third, and it also has the raised 7th, which is a B. Now, this is important because B is the third of a G7, okay? And you may be thinking, well, why do I care about G7 when we're playing a blues in B flat? There is no G7. So we know, because Jack has decided to play a C harmonic minor scale here, that he's thinking in terms of C minor. And the chord that functions as the dominant to lead to a C minor 7 would be the 5th scale degree of that key, which is G, which is an over explanation of saying that instead of acting like the progression is staying on the 1 chord here, Jack is thinking about a 6, 2, 5, 1 progression here. Now, I know that sounds like a lot and it sounds intimidating. The truth is, you don't necessarily need to know all of that stuff on the fly like the back of your hand, even though, Jack probably does. But I don't know that he's necessarily thinking of it in all of those terms at the moment when it comes to play. I think that he has decided to play more or less a jazz blues to kick off this song over a standard blues. It's really hard to tell what the bass is doing, given the audio quality and with the audio cutting out. But I think it's most likely that the bass is playing a straight ahead 3-chord blues, and Jack is adding color by superimposing a jazz blues over it. So the answer to a lot of this stuff is just familiarizing yourself with the form of the jazz blues, and it will become a little bit more natural and second nature to connect these chords and think about these types of chord substitutions in the places in the progression that they're falling. So it really is not as complicated as it sounds, but they are some, advanced blues harmonies going on here. So Jack was using the C harmonic minor to be able to imply a G7 to get to a C. So again, that little run was. And then here is where the 2 minor 7, a C minor 7, is landing. And that's what he's superimposing. And he's playing the arpeggio of the relative major. So instead of playing a C minor 7 arpeggio here, he's playing an E flat major arpeggio. And that's giving you most of the chord tones of a C minor 7. It's just giving you a little bit of extended harmony as well. All right, so that whole run was. So he walks down C to B flat right there, and then he lands on this G, and he walks it up chromatically to this A note. And so the 2 chord, that resolves to the 5, which in this case is an F7, and so that's an A, which is the third of the F7. So this is all just highlighting chord tones in a superimposed jazz blues. Then he plays this little thing. And that's over the 5-chord F7, which resolves down to the 1 chord to end the chorus. But what is this? If Jack sees this, maybe he can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'd love to hear from him. My hypothesis here is that Jack is playing from the F altered scale, which is something that you can play over dominant chords. It resolves the 5 chord nicely back to the 1 chord. Our notes here are A flat, F, D flat, and A. And all of those notes are found in the F altered scale. And then he comes out of that little trill by walking, he's playing the flat 7th here. And then he's walking down what is basically a B flat major scale. So a major scale with a flat 7th is going to have a mixolydian sound to it. So you could think of it like that. And then we're on the 1 chord, so he just hits the B flat up here, 3rd fret on the G string, and then closes it off with the octave 6th fret on the E string. So that. All right, so we got a lot of information from a small bit of playing with Jack Ruch there. We played the diminished arpeggio on the 6th bar of the blues progression on the sharp 4 scale degree. We used the harmonic minor scale to imply and resolve a 6 chord to a 2 chord at the appropriate spot in the progression as it lie in a jazz blues. And we also played around with using the altered scale to resolve a 5 chord to a 1 chord. There's a lot of concepts that Obviously I didn't dive too deeply into in this video, because the video would be hours long if I did that, but maybe I'll get to them down the line. But I just wanted to do something to celebrate Jack's playing. Make sure that you go check all his stuff out. I'm working through his True Fire course right now, and I'll likely do a video on the impact of that when I'm done with it. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do sub to the channel, give the video a like if you enjoyed this. Helps me out a lot, and I enjoy all your commentary.